ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकम्। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। तो आज से हम श्रीमद् भागवतम हर दिन पढ़ने का एक हैबिट डेवलप करते हैं। तो दिस इज द डे वन। लेट्स स्टार्ट रीडिंग श्रीमद् भागवतम। एंड मैंने ये मंगलाचरण से ही मैं शुरू करने का सोचा हूँ। सो नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया। तो ये वाला श्लोक से शुरू करेंगे। Let's read this book. ये श्लोक से शुरू करेंगे। हिंदी से हम नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। नष्ट destroyed, प्रायेषु almost nil, अभद्रेषु all that is inauspicious, नित्यम regularly, भागवत श्रीमद् भागवतम और the pure devotee। अच्छा, भागवत मतलब और भागवतम and that is also भागवत refers to pure devotee। सेवया by serving Bhagavati onto the personality of Godhead. Uttama, transcendental. Loke, prayers. Bhaktihi, loving service. Bhavati, coming into being. Naistiki, irrevocable. Translation. By regular attendance in classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering to service to pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. क्या बोले? By regular attendance in the classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee. These two things. Regular attendance in the classes of Bhagavatam and rendering service to the pure devotee. All that is troublesome to the heart, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And और क्या होता है ना? loving service unto the personality of Godhead, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, is established as an irrevocable fact. Okay. The loving service unto the personality of Godhead क्या आता है? What is the purport? Here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart. We are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. No. Here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart, which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. तो वो क्या है? The remedy is the association of Bhagavatas. So Bhagavatas. Bhagavatam में क्या है? There are two types of Bhagavatas, namely the book Bhagavat and the devotee Bhagavat. Both the Bhagavatas are competent remedies, and both of them or either of them can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. A devotee Bhagavat is as good as the book Bhagavat because the devotee Bhagavat leads his life in terms of the book Bhagavat, and the book Bhagavat is full of information about the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees, who are also Bhagavats. Bhagavat book and person are identical. Okay. So here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart, which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. The remedy is association with of the Bhagavatas. There are two types of Bhagavatas, namely book Bhagavat and the devotee Bhagavata. Both the Bhagavatas competent remedies, and both of them or either of them can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. Devotee Bhagavat is as good as the book Bhagavat because the devotee Bhagavat is a direct representative of God. The personality of Godhead. So by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavat. So by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavat. So by the devotee Bhagavat is the direct representative of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavat. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Human reason to understand how by serving the devotees of Bhagavat or the book Bhagavat one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. But actually, these are fact explained by Sila Narada Deva, who happened to be a maid servant son in his previous life. The maidservant was engaged in menial service of the sages, and thus he also came into contact with them. And simply by associating with them and accepting the remnants of foodstuff left by the sages, the son of the maidservant got the chance to become the great devotee and personality Sila Narad Dev. So by associating with them, accepting the remnants of foodstuff left by the sages, the son of the maidservant got the chance to become the great devotee and personality Sila Narada Deva. These are the miraculous effects of the association of Bhagavatas. And to understand these effects practically, it should be noted that by such sincere association of the Bhagavatas, one is sure to receive transcendental knowledge very easily. With the result that he become fixed in the devotional service of the Lord, the it should be noted that by such sincere association, what is the meaning of sincere association? Of the Bhagavatas, one is sure to receive transcendental knowledge very easily, with the result that he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. The more progress is made in devotional service under the guidance of Bhagavatas, the more one becomes fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The more progress is made in devotional service under the guidance of Bhagavatas, the more one becomes fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The message of the book Bhagavat, therefore, have to receive from the devotee Bhagavat, and combined of these two Bhagavat will help the neophyte devotee to make progress on and on. Okay. So, the message of the book Bhagavat, therefore, have to be received from the devotee Bhagavat. And the combination of these two Bhagavat will help the neophyte devotee to make progress on and on. अच्छा, ये- ये- The one long शुरू कर रहे हैं श्रीमद् भागवतम का प्रीफेस the one. We must know the present need of human society. And what is the need? Human society is no longer bounded by geographical limits to particular countries or communities. Human society is no longer bounded by geographical limits to particular countries or communities. Human society is broader than the Middle Age, and the world tendency is towards one state or one human society. Correct, Bobby?
चेकिंग नहीं पा रहा है, वहां से जाके चेकिंग करना पड़ेगा।
अच्छा,
वहां से 2 घंटा पहले लगता है, अभी निकालना पड़ेगा
जी।
हमारे इसमें पहले पहुंचे नहीं सकते कुछ। इतना दिक्कत है।
The ideals of spiritual community, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, are based on more or less oneness of the entire plant society, night of the entire energy of the living beings. The ideals of spiritual communism, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, are based more or less on the oneness of the entire plant society, night of the entire energy of the living beings. The need is felt by The need is felt by great thinkers to make this a successful ideology. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need in human societies. It begins therefore with an aphorism of Vedanta philosophy, Janmadya Asya Yatha. Janmadya Asya Yatha, to establish the ideal of a community. Janmadya Asya Yatha, Vedanta philosophy, Janmadya Asya Yatha, to establish the ideal of a common cause. Human society at the present moment is not in the darkness of oblivion. It has made rapid progress in the field of material components, education, and economic development throughout the entire world. But there is a pinprick somewhere in the social body at large, and therefore there are large-scale quarrels even about less important issues. There is need of a clue as to how humanity can become one in peace, friendship, and prosperity with a common cause. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need for the cultural presentation, for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. There is a need of a clue as to how humanity can become one in peace, friendship, and prosperity with a common cause. Common cause मतलब रीजन चाहिए. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need, for it is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. Srimad Bhagavatam should be introduced also in the school and college, for it is recommended by the great student devotee Prahlad Maharaj in order to change the demoniac face of society. Komaram acharite prajno dharman bhagavatan iha durlabam manusyam janma tad api adruvam arthadam. So Bhagavatam 7.6.1. Yeah, but okay. Sri Prahlad Vacho Kumaram Acha Rite Pragya Dharma An Bhagavatam Niha Durlabam Manusyam Janma Tad Apya Adrubam Arthadam. Sri Prahlad Vacha. Prahlad Maharaj said, Kumaram, in the tender age of childhood. अच्छा यहाँ पे लिखा गया नहीं. Acharate should practice in the tender age of childhood. Acharate should practice pragya, one who is intelligent, dharman, occupational duties, bhagavatan, which are devotional service to the supreme personality of Godhead. Iho, in this light. Durlabam, very rarely obtained, manusyam, human, janma, birth, tat, that, api, event, adruvam, impermanent or temporary, arthadam, full of meaning. Translation. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood to practice the activities of the devotional service, giving of all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Okay. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give you one complete perfection. तो यहाँ पे क्या बोल रहे हैं? बोले कि one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from very beginning of life. मतलब बचपन से ही उनको क्या है ना डिवोशनल सर्विस प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए. गिव अप ऑल इंगेजमेंट इन डिवोशनल सर्विस प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए. तो ह्यूमन बॉडी इज मोस्ट रेयरली अचीव्ड. मतलब बहुत रेयरली अचीव होता है. बट ये टेम्पररी भी है. इट इज लाइक टेम्पररी और बॉडीज. बट इस पे क्या है ना मीनिंगफुल क्यों है? बिकॉज इन दिस ह्यूमन लाइफ वन कैन परफॉर्म डिवोशनल सर्विस जो कि दूसरे बॉडीज में नहीं कर सकते. इवन ए स्लाइट अमाउंट ऑफ सिंसियर डिवोशनल सर्विस a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Okay. The whole purpose of Vedic civilization and of reading the Vedas is to attain the perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, from the very beginning of the life, the Brahmacharya system is introduced so that from one's very childhood, from the age of 5 years, one can practice modifying one's human activities so that as to engage perfectly in devotional service. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.40, Kalpam apya asya dharmasya trayate mahata bhayat. Even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous types of fear. Okay. Modern civilization, not referring to the verdict of Vedic literature, is so cruel to the members of human society that instead of teaching children to become brahmacharis, it teaches mothers to kill their children even in the womb, on the plea of curbing the increase of population. And if by chance a child is saved, he is educated only for sense gratification. Gradually, throughout the entire world, human society is losing interest in the perfection of life. Indeed, men are living like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of their human lives by actually preparing to transmigrate again to the degraded species among the 84 lakhs forms of life. The Krishna conscious movement is anxious to solve human society by teaching people to perform devotional service, which can save a human being from being degraded again to animal life. As already stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavata Dharma consists of Shravanam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. Actually stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavata Dharma क्या होता है? भागवत धर्म कंसिस्ट ऑफ श्रवणम, कीर्तनम, विष्णु स्मरणम, पाद सेवनम, अर्चनम, बंदनम, दास्यम, साख्यम, आत्मनिवेदनम. In all the schools, colleges, and universities, and at home, all children and the youth should be taught to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, they should be taught to hear the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, to put them into practice in their lives, and thus to become strong in devotional service, free from fear of being degraded to animal life. Following Bhagavata Dharma has been made extremely easy in age of Kali. The Shastra says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalo Nasti, Eva Nasti, Eva Nasti, Eva Tiranyatha. One need only chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everyone engaged in the practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be completely cleansed from the core of their heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. One need only chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. One need only chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everyone engaged in the practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be completely cleansed from the core of his heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. Okay. ना समझ पाया अच्छा okay, so this human life प्रीसियस है हालांकि टेम्पररी है बाकी लाइफ की तरह बट इम्पोर्टेंट इसलिए है क्योंकि इस लाइफ में हम डिवोशनल सर्विस प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं एंड क्या है डिवोशनल सर्विस प्रैक्टिस करना इस कलयुग के लिए सबसे इजी क्या है ना बस हरे कृष्णा मंत्र का जप करो एंड आप जब करोगे जब तब क्या होगा क्लिनसिंग प्रोसेस होगा फ्रॉम द कोर ऑफ हार्ट disparity in human society is due to lack of principles in a godless civilization. There is God or the Almighty One from whom everything emanates, by whom everything is maintained, and in whom everything is merged to rest. Material science has tried to find the ultimate source of creation very insufficiently. But it is a fact that there is one ultimate source of everything that we. This ultimate source is explained rationally and authoritatively in the beautiful Bhagavatam or Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental science not only for knowing the ultimate source of everything, but also for knowing our relation with Him. क्या बोले? Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental science. It is a transcendental science not only for knowing the ultimate source of everything. Now, what is the ultimate source of everything? सिर्फ उनके बारे में जानना नहीं बट ऑल्सो किनके लिए फॉर नोइंग आवर रिलेशन विथ हिम हमारा उनके साथ क्या रिलेशन है आवर ड्यूटी टुवर्ड्स द परफेक्शन ऑफ द ह्यूमन सोसाइटी एंड आवर ड्यूटी टुवर्ड्स परफेक्शन ऑफ द ह्यूमन सोसाइटी ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द परफेक्ट नॉलेज सो व्हाट इज श्रीमद् भागवतम दिस इज श्रीमद् भागवतम Srimad Bhagavatam is a transcendental science not only for knowing the first thing knowing about the ultimate source of everything. What is the reason behind everything? This is the first point. Also for knowing our relation with him. जो रीजन है उसके साथ हमारा क्या रिलेशन है एंड क्या आवर ड्यूटी टुवर्ड्स परफेक्शन ऑफ द ह्यूमन सोसाइटी ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ परफेक्ट नॉलेज एंड हमारा क्या ड्यूटी है अच्छा हम पता कर लेंगे हर एक चीज के पीछे का रीजन क्या है उसके साथ हमारा क्या रिलेशन है अच्छा ये पता चल गया अब हमारा ड्यूटी क्या है ये बता ये श्रीमद् भागवतम का is a transcendental science का इसका purpose है. It is powerful reading matter in the Sanskrit language. It is powerful reading matter in the Sanskrit language and it is now rendered into English elaborately. It is powerful reading matter. It's a powerful reading matter in Sanskrit language and it is now rendered into English elaborately so that simply by a careful reading one will know God perfectly well. So much so that the reader will be sufficiently educated to defend himself from the onslaught of atheists. Over and above this, the reader will be able to convert others to accepting God as a concrete principle. So, it's a it is a powerful matter, reading matter in the Sanskrit language, and it is now rendered into English elaborately. क्यों? So that simply by a careful reading, one will know God perfectly well. So much. कब कितने तक ना so much so that reader will be sufficiently educated to defend himself from the onslaught of atheist. Okay, ये एक रीजन है. दूसरा रीजन over and above this, ये तो ठीक है. The reader will be able to convert others to accept God as a concrete principle. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the definition of the ultimate source. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the definition of the ultimate source. It is a bona fide, it is ये स्टार्ट किससे होता है ना डेफिनेशन ऑफ द अल्टीमेट सोर्स अल्टीमेट सोर्स का डेफिनेशन इट इज ए bona fide commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the same author Srila Vyasadeva. It is a bona fide commentary on Vedanta Sutra. अच्छा श्रीमद् भागवतम इज ए commentary on Vedanta Sutra. इनके द्वारा ना श्रीला व्यासदेव And gradually it is developed into 9 cantos up to the highest stage of the God realization. Gradually it develops into the 9 cantos up to the highest stage of God realization. Okay. 9 cantos. The only qualification one needs to study this great book for transcendental knowledge is to proceed step by step, courteously, and not jump forward haphazardly as with an ordinary book. The only qualification, the only qualification one need to study this great book of transcendental knowledge is to proceed step by step, courteously, and not jump forward haphazardly as with an ordinary book. It should be gone through chapter by chapter, one after another. The reading matter is so arranged with the original Sanskrit text in English translations, synonyms, translations, and purport so that one is sure to become a God realized souls at the end of finishing the first 9 cantos. तो ये है श्रीमद् भागवतम को पढ़ना कैसे है. The 10th canto is distinct from the past 9 cantos because it deals directly with the transcendental activities of the personality Godhead Sri Krishna. अच्छा तो अभी तक क्या चल रहा था, अभी तक इधर है ना, the definition of the it is a bona fide spiritual master. अच्छा, and gradually it develops into the 9 cantos up to high stage of up to the high stage of God realization. अभी तक क्या चल रहा था, God realization चल रहा था. गॉड रियलाइजेशन के ऊपर, हाई स्टेज ऑफ गॉड रियलाइजेशन के ऊपर पहले 9 कैंटोस हैं. ओके. द 10th canto is the distinct from the past 9 cantos because it deals directly with the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. One will be unable to capture the effects of the 10th canto without going through the first 9 cantos. The book is complete in 12 cantos, is independent, but it is good for all to read them in small installments, one after another. धीरे धीरे एक के बाद एक पढ़ा तो अच्छे. Although ये सारे independent थे. Okay. Each independent, but it is good for all to read them in small installments, one after another. Okay. I must admit my very highly frailties in what is this? Frailty. The condition of being weak and delicate. Acha. Frailty in presenting Srimad Bhagavatam, but still, I am hopeful of its good reception by the thinkers and leaders of the society on the strength of the following statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. तत्वाग विसर्ग जनताग विप्लव यस्मिन् प्रति श्लोकम् अधावत्य अपि नामान्य अनन्तस्य यशो अनिक अंकितानि यच्च शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवः. On the other hand, the literature which is full of description of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a transcendental creation meant for bringing about a revolution in the impious life of a misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though irregularly composed, is heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Om Tat Sat. ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी. श्रीमद् भागवतम 1. इधर जाकर थोड़ा समझते हैं. तद्वा तद्वा तद्वाग विसर्गो जनता द्यभिप्लवी प्लवो यस्मिन् प्रति श्लोकम् अब्धव्यत् अपि नामान्य अनस्तस्य यशो अनि यशो अंकितानि यत् शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति माधवः साधवः, you know, tat, that, vak, vocabulary, visargah, creation, creation, janata, the people in general, agaha, since, viplavaha, revolutionary, yasmin, in which, prati slokam, each and every stanza, avad, avadhavati, irregularly composed, api, in spite of, namani, transcendental names, etc. Anantasya, of the unlimited Lord, Yasya, glories, Ankitani, despited, Yat, what, Shunvanti, do hear, Gayanti, do sing, Grinanti, do accept, Sadhavaha, the purified man who are honest. Translation. On the other hand, the literature which is full of description of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastime, and form, pastime, etc. The literature which is full of descriptions of transcendental glories of name, fame, form, pastime, etc. of the इनका ना ultimate supreme personality Godhead का is a different creation. Is a different creation full of transcendental words. The words are transcendental here, directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. तो ये क्या करेगा ना, directed towards bringing, it will bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. But ये imperfectly composed भी लिखे हैं इधर, ये वाला चीज। Why? ये तो थोड़ा फोटो पड़ेगा इसको। It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is the qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold from even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from a obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man, or accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchable. There are some of the ethical instructions. There are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their um, लिख लेते हैं nice. But a saint is far above the levels of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the supreme personality of Godhead, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transgressions. क्या पढ़ते हैं इसको?
transaction.
ये transactions लिखा है। The transactions. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militarist spirit. we have practically no business in the political field. Yet we see the previously there are both China and India, and they have lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness. In every country over the surface of the world was God fearing, pure hearted and simply, and surface of the world was God fearing, pure hearted and simple. And there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel. There is no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not very suitable for habitation. And certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. अच्छा, छोटी छोटी चीजों पे यहाँ पे quarrel लगेंगे. This is due not to the issue. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Okay. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Lord. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received uh, only by the leading man of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools of the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature, conveying transcendental message for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general, are re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter is in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail. And there will be so many literally discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration. And the leaders of the society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorifying the Almighty God. When there is fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbor, who may be foreigners, and yet without knowing the language, the victim of the fire express themselves, and the neighbor understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of the great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. Okay, so I'm listening. We are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of the great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attack another person or a nation on slight provocation. That is the rule of this age of Kali or Parel. Atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas for of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature. yet it is in the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. The people in general want to read, that is a natural instinct, but because their minds are polluted, they want such literature. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general. Under the circumstances, the transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy, but we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for the jaundice. Okay. क्या कहते हैं ना, it in the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. The people in general want to read. This is a natural instinct, but because their minds are polluted, such literature, they want such literature. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because on the suffering from the jaundice, like it because one suffering from the jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading. Let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When man have a taste for this literature, the other literature which are catering poison to society will then automatically kill. अच्छा, ये क्या बोले? Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of the sense gratification. When man have a taste for this literature, the other literature which are catering poison to the society will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now present with so many faults, for it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. Even though it is now presented with so many faults, Bhagavatam में faults कैसे आएगा? आज इतना पढ़ते हैं, बाकी हम नेक्स्ट पढ़ेंगे.